Welcome back to the Health Longevity Secret Show with your host, Dr. Robert Lufkin. His new book, Lies I Taught in Medical School, has been named a New York Times bestseller. And now, please enjoy this week's episode as we explore the secrets of molecular hydrogen with Dr. Kelly Halderman.
In this episode, we discover the transformative power of naturopathic medicine as we speak with Dr. Kelly Halderman, who defied her initial misdiagnosis of multiple sclerosis by uncovering the true culprits, Lyme disease and mold infections. Hear how she harnessed the body's natural healing capabilities through detoxification, nutrition, and hydration, setting the stage for a revolutionary discussion on the role of molecular hydrogen in longevity. Dr. Halderman's compelling personal journey reveals how addressing the root cause of illness can unlock remarkable health benefits. We dive deep into the science of aging as we explore the 9 hallmarks with a focus on how inflammation accelerates age-related conditions. Dr. Halderman provides a nuanced look at oxidative stress and its impact on genomic instability, telomere length, and mitochondrial function. We discuss the delicate balance between oxidation and reduction and the strategic use of antioxidants like molecular hydrogen to neutralize harmful free radicals while preserving essential cellular functions. Finally, we address the concept of allostatic load and its significant impact on overall health. Learn how reducing environmental toxins and managing oxidative stress can preserve telomere length and combat cellular senescence. We also delve into the resurgence of rapamycin and its potential for extending lifespan by balancing autophagy and mTOR. Join us on this enriching conversation that promises to unlock a healthier, longer life. This episode is sponsored by Liver Health Formula. 1 in 3 Americans have an overworked liver affecting weight, energy, and sleep. Our livers are bombarded daily with GMOs, sugars, toxins, and more. If you feel sluggish or can't lose weight, try Liver Health Formula. It's a premium supplement with 11 botanicals to detoxify and revitalize your liver. Stephanie says, I had liver issues. After taking this supplement, my doctor was amazed. I lost 20 pounds, my liver is healthier, and I cut sugar and carbs. Disclaimer, results may vary. Try Liver Health Formula and get a free month supply of omega-3s. Visit getliverhelp.com/Lufkin for your free gift. This episode is sponsored by Cyfox Health. One of the most common questions I get asked is which blood tests I check myself on a regular basis. Well, I check 17 biomarkers, but the secret is I'm able to do everything from the convenience of my home. I collect a sample with just a simple finger stick like this. You don't need to be a doctor to do it. Then I just mail it in and wait for the results. Cyfox Health makes it possible. Use the link below to get 15% off. This episode is brought to you by L-Nutra, maker of the Prolong Fasting Mimicking Diet. If you'd like to try it, use the link in the show notes for 20% off. And now, please enjoy this week's episode. Today, we get to speak about some of the foundations of longevity, and we get to speak with a true expert in the area. Dr. Kelly Halderman is a medical doctor and an expert in longevity in the application of antioxidants to reduce inflammation, which is a great fit for this program. So Kelly, I'm so happy to have you on the program.
Thank you, Rob. It is such a pleasure to be here with you.
Before we dive into the area, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be interested in this fascinating area.
Sure, absolutely. So long ago, I was practicing medicine and I myself became ill, and it was a real shocker because we pay a lot of money and we go to school for a very long time to have all the answers. And what I was experiencing was just very odd. I was, delivering a baby on call, and I had a giant scotoma from a migraine. I'd never had migraines before in the past, and suddenly I had no, visual field, and I had foot drop and all these very strange symptoms. And I was eventually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was given basically to medications and told to go home and be with my young children. Well, this didn't exactly work for me because, that paradigm and the allopathic paradigm, we do so many wonderful, wonderful things. But at this point, I felt that if this was all that was going to be offered to me, that it wasn't enough. So I went back and I earned a traditional naturopathic medical degree. I went and studied clinical nutrition. I got a doctorate in clinical nutrition as well, and I was able to apply these naturopathic philosophies such as detoxification and nutrition and hydration, and to understand how my body was working. And I was actually diagnosed with Lyme and mold infections. Thankfully, got to the root cause of the issues. And with that, I just really knew that I needed to leave the allopathic medicine behind, because in this world, I think that we have really great access to knowledge, but we need people who are educated. We need people who are able to go into PubMed, who are able to understand this complex literature and pull out areas, pull out concepts, pull out things that are do no harm, that are basically without harm. And again, we're going to talk about a lot of the hallmarks of aging and what we can do other than pharmacological therapy. But I think that that's really where my gifting is that in the education and research. And I'm currently a chief medical officer for a biotech company. And again, I get to use my voice, my education. I no longer practice medicine anymore because my time is consumed with, I bet you as well know, Rob, that this is a rich and robust field to be in, and it's very exciting. And so I'm excited to be here today with you to really bring to the forefront what is aging, what is inflammaging, how is it affecting us, and what we can do about it.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly, for sharing that story. It's so powerful, and we're hearing again and again so many people in as health practitioners come to this space through their personal experience and their personal journeys that are unfortunately fairly common. So for years, the multiple sclerosis was a misdiagnosis essentially, and it was mold and Lyme disease that was creating those symptoms. Is that right?
I actually had some changes on MRI. So I do think those changes were induced by my terrible diet, my stress. Like being in practice was something that wasn't resonating with me. So mind, body, spirit, and then of course the Lyme disease. I was living in northern Minnesota. I was in an endemic area, and so I do believe that it was an accurate diagnosis. But I have zero symptoms since getting to the root cause. I work really hard to maintain my health, but I feel like I'm 25. So, it's a great pathway to be on when you can continually know exactly what to do to optimize your health.
Yeah, I love your success in that. What I wonder, before we leave your story, what worked actually for your healing? What was so successful for you?
That's so interesting. People ask me that all the time, like, Dr. Halderman, what did you do to really reverse? Because I was bedridden, Rob. I could not get out of bed. I couldn't understand when people were trying to tell me what their phone number was. I was like, what's a 7? My brain was so inflamed. And from going from that state to where I'm at right now, it took a multitude of things. It took time. It really did. And I think it took hope. It took hope that there were things that I could do to facilitate my healing, but yet my body is a healing machine. We are innately designed to heal. If you cut your finger, there is not a lot you can do to stop that process. And that's what I kept thinking when I was, really ill, is that my body is designed to heal if I give it what it needs. And so I just started at foundations, Rob. I started with gut health and optimized that, went on to helping my body detox properly. And we're going to get into this because this is one of my passions along the way, was optimizing hydration. It sounds simple, and, we really kind of, okay, yeah, we're supposed to drink our 8 glasses of water a day, but Hydration in of itself is so fascinating, endlessly fascinating, and it's also so critical. And especially when so many biological processes in your body, which is 60% water, depend on it. And so I was always thinking about water along the way, always think about hydration. And that got me into researching molecular hydrogen and things that can be done to plain water, such as electrolysis, that can actually change the water, can actually restructure it. There's a lot of work by Gerald Pollack, who is now a friend. And we really kind of discredit that. So anyone wanting to read a really fascinating, complex book, The Fourth Phase of Water, is excellent. But I always kept that in the back of my mind, and I really optimized that. And so, that's what really caught my eye with the company I'm working for, is that we're looking at going beyond the power of hydration. We're looking at creating biomolecules, and these biomolecules, they've been researched to help with inflammation. So I'm going to tie that into, because that was really a big part of my healing. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, I want to get into that later in the water specifically. But before we do, maybe let's step back and maybe share with our audience, what your general framework for how you think about aging and longevity. In other words, why do we age? Is it wearing out? Is it programmed? Or what's going on there, do you think?
Yeah, so I think that unfortunately we all age, but we want to age. So it's kind of like, how do we do it in the best way? How do we have a healthy lifespan, a healthy health span? But we all age. It's just that loss of the physiological integrity, which leads to impaired function, and then you have your increased vulnerability to death. So it's the prominent risk factor for many of our pathologies: cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disease. As we age, we just get more at risk at these conditions. And so a paper that I really, really like, and I really look back at to kind of guide the way I think about aging, is one that came out of Cell in 2013. It's a little bit old, but it's by Lopez and Otten et al. And he talks about the hallmarks of aging, and it gives us an idea of what is going on, because aging is not one thing. If someone says, "Oh, I'm aging because my mitochondrial are getting, old and rusty," well, yeah, that's one of nine. There's a lot of talk about cellular senescence. What is that? Is that adding to aging? Yes, it is. But again, there's mostly nine. We're going to actually talk about nine because it's just a little bit easier, because it just kind of covers a lot of bases, and it covers the literature that we're discovering today. But they all kind of weave in together. But a very underlying factor that we're all aware of is that oxidative stress, that inflammation. If that's left unchecked, the naturopathic philosophy says that inflammation is at the root cause of all disease. And I do believe that. And so I think it's interesting to look at that and have a summit based on inflammaging itself.
Yeah, we're finding with speakers like yourself and experts in the area, it's amazing how inflammaging drives not only all the major chronic diseases that contribute to our lifespan, but also drives aging ourselves. It's fascinating to go over that. And maybe if we talk about these hallmarks of aging, we could go through and speak about how inflammation is associated with each of them, and what your approach is, if any, to deal with each of these. And of course, given our emphasis for this program and the theme is mind and body, if at any time we can see a chronic stress or a psychological connection anywhere that resonates with you, we can mention that as well too.
Absolutely. That's great. So going back to that paper again, the 9 hallmarks that were proposed are genomic instability, telomere attrition, epigenetic alterations, loss of proteostasis, deregulated nutrient sensing, mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, stem cell exhaustion, and altered intercellular communication. So it sounds like a lot, but let's kind of dig in. Let's go.
To be clear, there will not be a quiz, right?
That's right. That's why I'm a professor. So maybe if you really, really want a quiz at the end, pay attention. But I'm just going to go into them like and make sure that they're digestible. Make sure that you understand that that's a lot of technical words, but it really comes down to a lot of easy things that you can do to help slow these 9 hallmarks. So the first one again, genomic instability. So basically DNA is the blueprint for genetic expression. But the problem is that it's constantly under attack. So you have these instructions that literally keep you alive, the production of proteins, everything that you need for cellular respiration, vitamins, minerals that, make that DNA and make those proteins work. But these free radicals, these, pollutants, chemicals, pesticides, they all damage the DNA, and the damage is associated with aging because your cells just don't work as well. But thankfully, your DNA also encodes instructions on how to repair itself. But again, we just get older and it doesn't work as well. And so a better strategy would be like go upstream and figure out, where's all this damage coming from? That's number one. You have to just do the elimination, right? You just have to write down everything that you're smearing on your body, your shampoos, clean your air. And I know it sounds daunting. I know it does. But again, you really want to drain the bucket, right? We really want to get to the balance where our body can handle the toxins that we're bringing in. But for this one, again, it's all about elimination. It's not about taking a multitude of antioxidants. And I'm going to get on my antioxidant soapbox for just a second here. So the way antioxidants work in the body is that they're electron donors. And so we have a balance of oxidation and reduction in our body. That's called redox. And we want it to be in balance. We don't want to have so much reduction and little oxidation, because oxidation, although it sounds scary, where the free radicals and it's chewing up your cells, it's used by the body to combat viruses and cancer cells. So we want it in balance. So when we take a lot of antioxidants, vitamin C, the really well-known ones, what happens is it donates the electron, but then it becomes itself a free radical. And so it also, in general, antioxidants will scavenge all of your free radicals. Now, this can be harmful because there are some free radicals in your body, such as hydrogen peroxide, that actually has positive cell signaling functions in your body. So you don't want to scavenge everything. Again, this is just balance. Life is about balance. And so what I do is I employ the use of selective antioxidants, because selective antioxidants, as shown in a Nature paper in 2000, and I believe it was 13, showed that a component called molecularhydrogen actually acts as selective antioxidant, meaning it goes after only the free radicals that are deleterious in your body, such as the hydroxyl radical. And when it actually donates the electron, it scavenges it. It's not it's itself now a free radical. It just goes in, does its job selectively. So smart, so smart. And it's tiny. Hydrogen is the smallest molecule on Earth. And so it can go everywhere in the body. And again, I think that we're tipped in the favor of more oxidation, because what have I just said? The aforementioned toxins and pollutants and things that using selective antioxidants helps balance that out. And again, that is one of the major factors of aging.
Yeah, this balance point you make is so critical. We're seeing it throughout the program with so many different speakers. The idea of homeostasis and balance, whether it's psychological balance with acute and chronic stress, as Steve and other speakers have talked about, or whether it's mTOR, the mechanistic target of rapamycin, balance between being turned on and being turned off, and just balancing all these other features. Before we continue on that train of thought, you mentioned one thing I wanted to emphasize for the audience, and that was the elimination. You mentioned an elimination diet, but it wasn't just a diet. You want to eliminate also, personal care products, skin creams, other things that can be toxins. Could you clarify that a little bit? Just what that process is, so they will know how to do it.
Sure. I think of it as a load on your body. You have an allostatic load that presses down on the ability of your body to function properly. And so really, when we're looking at the skincare products, or we're looking at pesticides in our food or air quality, all of that really presses down on how well our body's able to function, and our liver capacity to detox, in our kidneys. And so what I'm saying from that perspective is just be aware of how much you're taking in. And this applies to stress too, right? Like, just like you said, it's really more of a global view of your health, is that you have to monitor what's going in order to maximize that allostatic load that's pressing down. You just want to free it up. And so, that can just mean inventorying the things, again, that you're using as personal care products. What are you eating? What are you thinking? A lot of that, it will just help with that load.
Yeah, and you mentioned inflammation, and how that is a negative thing, at least chronic inflammation that's driving these things. And then also you also mentioned that chronic disease is driven by inflammation, and oxidation is a negative thing, and antioxidants potentially are good things, if I got that right. And then how do antioxidants work on inflammation? What's the relationship there? Do they turn down inflammation?
Basically, they turn down inflammation. Yeah. And if you think about inflammation and the inflammagens, we're really looking at balancing out the free radicals. So that's really what the antioxidants are used to. They're used to try and scavenge that load.
So basically, these hallmarks of aging that we're talking about, each of them drive aging, and they're also related to inflammation, I assume, correct? And then presumably there will be antioxidants that can be directed at each of the hallmarks of aging as you go through them. Is it that clear cut?
There's a lot of overlap. I would say that some do have, and we'll go through that. Rob will go through some of the particulars, such as cellular senescence. Like what can we use specifically for that, or what can we do? But I think that just like the body, there's, when we chop things up in allopathic medicine and you go to your kidney doctor and your endocrinologist, it's just, we're not seeing the whole picture clearly. So there is a lot of overlap, and what we're doing is good for one hallmark, but then it's good for like six other of the hallmarks as well, because it just lessens up the overall load.
Great. Yeah. So we've covered the genomic instability, and what's next?
Sure. Yep. So what's next is the telomere attrition. So telomeres, just think of them as the caps on the end of your shoelace. That's the DNA caps, and they protect your DNA. But the caveat is that every time your DNA, what your cells actually undergo replication, is that those telomeres get shorter and shorter. And the problem is that once they're very, very, very short, your cells can't replicate anymore. And what actually spurs on replication is toxins and inflammation. They both spur on the cells need to replicate, and that accelerates your aging process. And so we really want to employ the use of, first, again, go back to your foundationals, just eliminate outtrain, lessen your inflammation, have a good diet, don't pour chemicals and toxins into your body. But we also want to make sure that with the telomere length, that will preserve it, so you won't be replicating, because just think, like, if you're replicating, that's aging in of itself. So really, there was a study that was done that was found that molecularhydrogen actually increased telomere length. And so a hallmark of aging, I love hydration anyway. And so that's, again, why I work for the company I do, because there's so many great things other than just the benefits of hydration that you can get with telomere lengthening. There's also some supplements out there that can help with preserving telomere length. I like TA65, I believe, I did a clinical study showing that telomeres can be preserved or increased.
Oh, okay. And before we continue on the list of the hallmarks, you're mentioning molecular hydrogen and water, and that we'll talk about that more later. But just to set the stage, that is going to improve inflammation, right, across many of these. When we'll find out when we talk about it, but just so people know, that's tied to water somehow, that we're going to be hearing more about, right?
Exactly. Yep. Right on. So, okay, so carrying on with the third one, everybody, you're doing great. Your test will not be that hard at the end, so keep on keeping on. The third hallmark is referred to as epigenetic alteration. So basically, every cell in your body, other than your red blood cells and your cornified cells, they have that DNA. But what makes a liver cell different than a skin cell? Like, how do they know the difference between how do I express this protein, how do I express this? Like, where do they get their identity? And it's from that epigenome. It's from that epigenetic instruction. So you can kind of think of that as, like, again, the instructions telling the DNA what to do. Like, DNA is the blueprint, and then the epigenome is like the contractor telling them what to do. And there's like a good side of this and a bad side of this. So your stress levels, what you're eating, what you're thinking, what, again, your toxic load, that can all influence how your DNA is expressed, that epigenome. And so, again, the good news is that a lot of this is under our control. Some of those, the DNA mutations that I talked about in the number one, some of those are not reversible, but epigenetic alterations, they're reversible. So this is an important one because, again, it comes down to like behaviors. And if you're smoking and eating at fast food and you're under so much stress, you're going to age. And this would be the underlying hallmark, that epigenetic alteration. It falls under that category.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful interaction point. Some of our other speakers will be talking about how we can reprogram our epigenome with psychological tools or interventions in lifestyle with exercise and diet and other things. It's so fascinating there. So yeah, so those are some key hallmarks. What else do we have to look at?
Yeah, what's cool in this one too is this is falls under the sirtuin family. So we hear a lot about the sirt from like David Sinclair and resveratrol and NMN, but this is one of the genes that's under our control. Fasting can help with this gene expression. Again, molecular hydrogen can help with this expression, but really when we're looking at the SIRT 3 and 4, those are like little energy packs inside our cells. So if you can think about that, like that's important for staying healthy and young, having those little energy packets inside of there. So that's an exciting one that, again, we have control over for sure. And then I think with this one, it really comes down to when we have those epigenetic factors that we're not optimizing, which are under control, like diet, and, we're packing on extra pounds and things, that we really make sure that we're trying to optimize, not just body, mind, body, spirit, but again, optimizing everything that we can under this one. I just love this one because it's all under our control. It's like, hey, here's the anti-aging pathway, and here's the aging pathway. So again, go down the aging, it's just like treat your body like a temple, not like a tent.
I like that quote. It's a great one. So we covered 4 of the hallmarks of aging, sort of the I guess the primary hallmarks. I think they wrote about as sort of in that they cause damage, sort of, and then the next hallmarks of aging, the next 3, at least some people lump them together as these are sort of responses to the damage caused by the first 4. Although, it's very, very complex, and honestly, nobody really knows. This is just sort of the best attempt at people trying to understand a very complicated field. But go ahead. Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it too. Is that like the next one's the loss of proteostasis? So what does that mean? And again, these are probably downstream effects of the aforementioned ones. So loss of proteostasis means that, your body is a protein producing machine. And so we need a balance between how much we're producing, how many proteins, because those are very important, and then how many that we're scavenging, we're cleaning up. And that goes into the process of autophagy too, cellular cleaning. So when you lose this balance, you can have all kinds of protein, that are accumulating, that are, just think of that as like cellular debris. Like you really can't have very good cellular processes going on when there's just running amok with all these proteins. And so one of the ones that I think that we think of with loss of proteostasis is that the heat shock proteins. The heat shock proteins are starting to get really well known because activation actually helps you correctly fold your proteins, try and balance that out, trying to gain back that loss of proteostasis. And we hear about saunaing with the heat shock proteins, but also, again, I hate to say this, but molecular hydrogen has been shown to help upregulate those heat shock proteins. And then I just want to mention this too, is that this one really ties in with age-related pathologies like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and cataracts. And if you think about it, it makes sense. We have the proteostasis, and we're not cleaning it up, and it's mucking things up. So another important one to pay attention to.
Yeah, our audience hasn't heard about heat shock proteins yet. Maybe you could clarify what those are, and like you said, you could tie it into the sauna and the hydrogen water too, if you want.
Yeah, one of the many benefits of saunaing, and it's called electrolyze reduced water, is that you will have a induction of these heat shock proteins. So what they do is they go in and they can stabilize the correctly folded proteins. So it's like an insurance policy. It's like your body actually made this protein. It is good. And so now we want to stabilize it. So we're going back to the beautiful balance that our body is able to do when it's not full of inflammation and, again, oxidative stress, and that it just all lays on that allostatic load. So it's pretty simple, with the heat shock proteins. We don't have to go into, the mitochondrial UPR mediated rejuvenation, but really just think of heat shock proteins as really trying to amend this. They do a lot of other things too. But I think that heat shock protein, and then the autophagy. Let's just quickly go into autophagy. So autophagy, I don't know if you have a guest talking about this, but in a nutshell, it's just cellular cleaning. And just like spring cleaning, we need a mechanism, and we do have a mechanism to go in and clean out all of the misfolded proteins, all of the cellular debris that we normally produce. And again, that's called autophagy. It's activated when we are in a caloric deficit. So someone, I think, has talked about mTOR. So mTOR is anabolic. mTOR is like stepping on the gas, building proteins, building things. But autophagy is catabolic. So it's breaking down things, but just as important. They're, really important to be in balance. And there's things such as fasting that can upregulate your autophagy, berberine. Again, molecularhydrogen can do it. A really famous drug that's very old that's coming back into a mainstream-ish is rapamycin, and that's because it can help with the balance of autophagy and mTOR.
Yeah, we'll have several speakers that will be talking about autophagy and rapamycin and these other things as well. So that'll be good. We can expand on that. Any other the hallmarks that you want to cover for today?
Yeah, I think maybe mentioning the fifth. So I'll just kind of mention the last ones really quick in nutshell.
Sure.
So deregulated nutrient sensing. So, your cells have sensors that respond to the changes in your nutrient levels in your body, right? Because we don't want to let too much food in, and we want to be careful, because every time we're burning our food, we're actually creating oxidative stress. We're actually doing that. So we want to have that balance. But what happens over time is your cells just don't respond. So in a nutshell, like, this is called the insulin and IGF-1 signaling pathway. So what I think of this one is that you have to be careful with how much you're spiking your glucose, because you're just wearing these receptors out. You're wearing this sensing out. So you want to be careful. And that's why, the studies on caloric restriction they're actually really good for longevity, is because you're probably not pushing on that lever over and over and over again. So I just think that just will tie into someone talking about how important diet is and important balancing our blood sugar is for that one. That's pretty simple. So, simple strategy again is to just maintain healthy diet, exercise, get your nutrients in, and you should be good. Although I am remiss to say that 1 in 3 adults in the United States has prediabetes, which is absolutely scary. And only 80% know that they do. So, if you're listening and you're like, oh, I'm fine, I got this covered, it's worth a check. It really is. When I was practicing, I always measure more of a full panel, fasting, glucose, fasting, insulin, and, hemoglobin A1C, going into those, because we really want to nail this one for aging and inflammation. We really do. Like I just said, when you're eating, you're creating oxidative stress. I'm not saying don't eat, but I'm saying, I do a 16 to 18 fasting window every day because it works for me. But I've really felt like that activated my autophagy, my blood sugar is better, my insulin is better. So that's kind of a nutshell in that one. The
That's
next
such an important point about nutrient sensing, because we're going to hear a lot of speakers in a program, but people wonder, it's like, why, if I fast, why do I live longer? Why does that affect longevity? Or if I stop eating sugar, why does that make people live longer? But it's really foundational, this nutrient pathway for the hallmarks of longevity. It's tied in so many different ways.
100%. And then the next one, again, very simple, mitochondrial dysfunction. So I think everything that we've talked about, your mitochondrial are not spared. In fact, they are at more at risk because they don't have the histones that protect them. The DNA doesn't have the protection. So really your mitochondria are very important. And you want to make sure that you're managing that oxidative stress. When you are dehydrated, you actually will shift toward that anaerobic metabolism, which is inefficient, and you only get 3 ATP molecules. I won't test you guys on that one, but really you want to make sure that you're protecting your mitochondria. And it goes back again, foundations, dietary, stress, really making sure you're getting all of your nutrients, because in your hydration status as well, because your mitochondria just don't work well. And then my absolute favorite one, so I'm so glad we have time to talk about this, is cellular senescence. Boy, it sounds complicated, but basically when your cells hit the Hayflick limit, so they've multiplied all the times that they hit this limit and they turn into senescent cells. Now, they're referred to, I don't love this name, but they're referred to as zombie cells. And they're referred to, by this name because they secrete SAS factors, senescence associated secretory phenotype. So a SAS factor that is secreted from your senescent cells is super inflammatory, super inflammatory. So looking at ways with my job, we are in partnership with the Buck Research Institute, and we're looking at how our specific water can help modulate senescence, because when we're pushing those cells to replicate and we're aging, and then they hit that limit and then they go to be zombie cells. Again, you just have these smoldering cells in your body. Again, inflammaging. That's, right there. So using strategies to help with cellular senescence is so cutting edge. I love studying it. Like every day a new paper is coming out about cellular senescence.
Yeah, and you in your own personal journey, you've gone from practicing medicine full time to devoting all your time to this, your passion, and understanding longevity and developing new technology with it. And you're CMO at a new company. What sort of work are you doing there?
Sure. So they brought me in to really aggregate all the data that we've done in partnership with prestigious universities all over the world for 15 years. We've shown really positive effects in agriculture. And again, let's go back and define what this technology is. So WEO technology is a boron dope diamond electrolysis technology. It's patented. So what we're doing is we're taking the power of hydration and we're actually modifying and augmenting it and giving it even more powerful, attributes. And so we're looking at those. We're studying the biomolecules. I've mentioned molecular hydrogen. That's just one of the biomolecules that we have in our water, but the data that they presented to me when they were headhunting me just absolutely blew me away. And I think that we need really savvy strategies, but water seems so simple, but yet it can be made into something that's even more powerful for help. So I just absolutely love what I'm doing. I'm working with the Buck Institute, researching, again, cellular senescence. We're building human clinical trials to show the effects of our water. There's some studies that even show that it helps with stress modulation. I mean, right now we have plenty of studies showing digestive health, like regulation of body metabolism and body composition, blood sugar regulation. I could go on and on about all the positive antioxidant status. We decrease markers of inflammaging. But really, again, my passion is to get people well. Like, I know what it's like to be bedridden. I know what it's like to be very, very sick. I needed strategies. I needed a brain to think for me. I needed someone I can trust. And I feel like I am that person.
Yeah, the research in the area of longevity is so challenging because it's difficult to get endpoints, and so maybe you could talk a little about your clinical trials and some of the endpoints you're hoping for, and what kind of results you're expecting to see, or if you've seen any results yet, you could share with us.
Sure. So we've actually done an in-home use trial in both the United States and in France, and we've done a beta test, and we've found positive effects on, again, digestion, skin health. It really comes down to, Rob, like, what is your issue? Do you have joint pain? Do you have, headaches? Do you have XYZ? And so when I say that we found positive effects, it's not like someone had 9 things that it helped with, right? But it's kind of like your miasm, like, where in your body do you have the weakness? Because when we go back to the beginning of this talk, inflammaging, we're trying to target that. This will target that. So again, we're seeing energy, mood, some weight loss, definitely modulation of appetite, because people, it's hard. We have chemicals that are robbing our body's ability to be tricked into thinking, we need that hamburger, that fast food. But really, hydration, you need to be hydrated to really satiate those pathways. So again, it kind of just goes back down to foundation. So we've also found with our clinical trials, as you asked, we are in the midst of kicking those off. We're going to be studying in healthy human beings. We're looking for structure function claims. So we're going to be studying the effects on skin. I'm also tying in HRV, so stress management. I'm going to be tracking sleep with probably an Oura ring. Big fan of getting objective data, right? Big fan, right? To really help yourself. And then we'll be doing a second trial on digestive issues. And also building in a lot of those inflammation objective markers as well.
So you're going to be looking at blood markers also, like CRP, fasting insulin, and that sort of thing, or is it more generalized effects on the body that you're expecting to see?
We're going deep, Rob. We're going deep, Doc. We really are. You're gonna like that data when you go through it. I mean, I'm coming in and I'm making sure we're hitting all the markers so that we really are displaying the power that our water has. So we'll have a lot of blood, urine markers as well.
Oh, that's so exciting. When will the data be out? Or these trials often take a long time?
Yeah, they do. They're really expensive and they take a really long time. So I'm hoping for Q4 in 2023. So
really? Wow.
yeah, so maybe by the time this is airing, we'll have 6 months, 7 months until we get that data. But I'll definitely be out there shouting from the rooftops about our findings.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you back for our next summit to talk about the results maybe. But let me understand. So this is just you talk about a water product. So this is a consumer product, or will you need a prescription for this, or
Yes.
is that what it look? Okay.
Picture's worth 1,000 words. Thank you very much. This is the WEO bottle for human use. I actually give this water to my pets too. They prefer it. You just put in filtered water and you just press the button, and then your water is restructured and the biomolecules are created, which have amazing studies. And we've gone through a lot of the positive effects on inflammaging, but very simple. Our website is just weo.com. So it's WE-O.com. There's a lot of more information on there for people who want to take a look at that.
Yeah, and maybe, well, I know we're almost out of time here. Maybe you share the website. Could you share how people can follow you on social media and find out
Oh
more
yeah.
about you and the
Yeah.
work you're doing?
Yep. So I have a big Facebook following, like over 10,000 people. That's just Dr. Kelly Halderman. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram at DRK Halderman. I think that I also have a website that's under construction. So again, I feel like it's always under construction. There's always something I need to add to it, but I think it's easy to find me. And please reach out, ask me all the questions that you have. I really want to be an advocate for people, especially in this area. Like you said, Dr. Rob, we really need good, strong minds really digging into the validated research for us.
Yeah, well, this has been such a great conversation, Kelly, and I want to thank you for spending an hour with us and sharing your knowledge in this fascinating area. And also, I want to thank you for the work you're doing in moving the field forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Rob. It's been a real pleasure.
If you are enjoying this program, please hit that subscribe button, or even better, leave a review. Your support makes it possible for us to create the quality programming that we're continually striving for.
Can I start? Is it recording?
It's already recording.
Oh, sorry. This is for general information and educational purposes only, and it's not intended to constitute or substitute for medical advice or counseling. The practice of medicine or the provision of healthcare, diagnosis, or treatment, or the creation of a physician-patient or clinical relationship. The use of this information is at their own user's risk. If you find this to be on the value, please hit that like button to subscribe to support the work that we do on this channel. And we take your suggestions and advice very seriously, so please let us know what you'd like to see on this channel. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time. You should say that.
That's good. You like it? You want to do it one more time, or is that good? I think that was good.
Yes.
All right.
You need to save the recording.
Very good.